We'd like to say good afternoon to everyone and welcome to the Shreveport City Council. We ask that you be kind enough, if you have your cell phones, to put them on silence or turn them off. And we're going to ask that because Councilman Jackson is decked out in his blue and gold, we're going to ask that he would lead us in prayer, and Councilwoman Taylor would lead us in the pledge.
Everybody bow their heads. Gracious Father, we just want to come to thee just to praise your name. We ask that you please bless over the city. We ask that you bless over the administration and this council. We ask that this meeting be of your will and not our own. We ask that you order our steps and our decisions in order to move this city forward. We ask this in your many other blessings in your daughter's son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Turn to the second pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very kindly. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Taylor.
Present.
Councilman Brooks.
Here.
Councilman Talaferro.
Here, ma'am.
Councilman Butcher. Councilman Jackson.
Here.
Councilman Green.
I'm here.
And Councilwoman Bowman.
Present.
Thank you very much. Tomorrow, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the Administrative Conference meeting Monday, November 13th, 2023, and the City Council meeting Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. Does any council member have any awards, recognition, or distinguished guests not to exceed 15 minutes at this time?
I do, Mr. Chair. I'd like to
Yes, sir.
bring forward Ms. Robin Snyder for a presentation, please.
Ms. Robin Snyder, welcome to the Shreveport Council meeting. Good to see you again.
Hi, how are y'all doing?
I'm good.
Mayor, council members. I have kind of an unusual request. We're building a new bridge. And the old bridge, Jimmy Davis Bridge, is going to become a park. So I have a recommendation for the naming of the new bridge. 103 years ago, a young man was born, and he was raised at 1947 Logan Street. Him and his brother grew up in Allendale. They were raised by a father. Their mother died young. She was a housekeeper. Their father was a truck driver. They went to Central Colored High School on Weinstock and graduated. They loved Duke Ellington. They raised money and they bought a saxophone which they shared together. As young black men, they could not find a living in Shreveport. So together they decided to join the military. The brother joined the Army and the younger brother joined the Navy. The Navy was segregated. There was only 2 job openings for a young black man in the Navy. That was cabin boy, which sounds exactly like it was, or mess attendant. So he decided to be a mess attendant. So off he goes, because he knew that the Red River went to the Mississippi, went to the Gulf of Mexico, and went to the world. So off he goes to the world. And he was beloved on his ship. Late at night, he would play that saxophone, and when he cooked, he'd added a little bit of Louisiana spice to that food. And when he was a young man, he kind of got into a little bit of trouble. So his father sent him to the boys' club out there on Greenwood Road, and he learned how to box. So he had a wicked right cross, and he won the lightweight championship for his weight class for his ship. Well, that morning he got up early, and he started cooking, and they came out of the sun, and they sank his ship. So he was the first man, he was the first man to die from Shreveport in World War II. There is not one memorial for him in Shreveport, and I would like his name on the bridge. His name was Lloyd Baxter Jones. He died 8 days before his 21st birthday. And I don't know if you have any control over how to name a bridge. But his brother came back, Harry came back, He became a mailman. He married. He had children. And he said, I tried to do everything that my brother never got to do. And the one thing about Floyd was, he said, I know I can't change the segregation upon my ship, but at least I can try. So I feel like there's a little bit of Shreveport in Pearl Harbor because he was on the USS Arizona. And we weren't told because he was a black man. We were not told for a whole year that he died. And the thing that was really sad was he worked as a newspaper boy. That's how he earned money for that saxophone. And when the Shreveport Times printed his name, they printed his name wrong. And they didn't even verify. And his own father didn't know he was dead. His father did not know he was dead for a whole year. So I'm asking this council and the mayor, if y'all know anybody with the state, if we can name a bridge after someone who is a piece of Shreveport. And that's my request.
Ms. Snyder, thank you so much. And when you shared that story with me while you were sharing it, I mean, I had chill bumps. And as I said to you that day, I was with you on that, and I still stand with you on that. And thank you so much.
And I
for
wish
bringing
all of
that
y'all
story
a
to
Merry
life.
Christmas.
Merry
Yes,
Christmas.
ma'am.
Thank you, Robin.
Anyone
Thank you, Mr.
else?
Chair.
Yes, sir. Ms. Stacy Brown, what do you come?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman Green and Council, Mayor Arsenault, for allowing me to come before you today to give you a little update on tourism. And I'm going to see, do I just push? I think he's got us going here.
There you go.
Okay, there it is. Just to give you a little update on tourism and what's happening. I tried to narrow my slides down, and there's just so many great things. It's hard to do that. So I'm going to go really fast because I want to honor your time. But if you ever have anything you want me to expound on a little further or want to sit down and talk with me, I'd be glad to share more. So some of the great things that happened this year, we completed, and I say we, the community, completed a destination master plan this year and a new community brand. So as a part of that, we brought together a diverse group of people and professions to really look at our community and help us move forward as a community. We talked with lots of different focus groups, individual interviews, resident sentiment surveys, town hall meetings, to really hear from the local people as we moved forward. The purpose of a destination master plan is to increase the amount of visitor dollars coming into the area to benefit a wider range of local businesses and residents. So looking at the community as a whole. And the reason we do that is last year, tourism brought in $819 million to Caddo and Bossier parishes. That's a lot of money into our community. It provides a lot of jobs, a lot of businesses with their income. So tourism is really important to our communities. We came up with 6 strategic goals: increase and diversify community collaboration, accelerate mixed-use development, placemaking, and mobility innovation along the 2 urban waterfronts, increase support for local entrepreneurs in arts, culture, film, food, music, retail, and other creative businesses, capitalize on surging demand for sports tourism, increase visitor volumes in the meetings and convention sector, and accelerate business development in outdoor recreation and upgrade event venues. So in these, the Convention and Tourist Bureau has a part. Some of them we will lead. Some of them we will just help collaborate and bring other groups together. So this is not just our goals. This is for the community as a whole and what our citizens said they wanted to see. And part of what we're looking at is the citizens from the eyes of the visitor and what can we come from that. When we talked to, our consultants came in and they talked to visitors and they said, you know what, or talked to local people, I may use some quotes from what you tell me. So this was one of them. He said, I've never been in a place that apologizes more for itself than here. And he said this was a local person who was not originally from our community that had moved here. And I'm one of those. And I agree very much with this statement. I love Shreveport Bossier in this community. But unfortunately, sometimes I hear a lot of negative. And let's face it, there are negative things that happen everywhere. A lot of it's how do we move it forward and turn it into a positive. He also said, we have to use the river as a connector and not a divider. For Bossier City to succeed, Shreveport needs to succeed and vice versa. It's so important that we work together. When I first moved here, I didn't know about Shreveport and Bossier and the different sides of the river. And so often when we have visitors, they talk about a wonderful time that they had, and they really don't know which side of the river. They're going back and forth, and they're spending their money, and they're having a great time, and they're coming back. But they don't want to know, well, that's my side of the river, or that's the other side of the river. They want to see it as one great community. So these were some key takeaways from the resident sentiment survey. And number one was we don't all see things the same way. And that's a great thing. Imagine how boring this place would be if we did all see things the same way. Number two, we're hardest on ourselves. And so we've got to get out of our own corner and let's become cheerleaders for ourselves. We're not the same, but we're not that different. So let's celebrate our differences, but also celebrate our commonalities and learn how to work together even better. We have an opportunity to be so much more. These communities are really poised on becoming even better than what we have today. This is our purpose statement for Visit Shreveport Bossier. 2 cities, 1 heart, uniting communities through tourism, sports, festivals, and events. Let's face it, one of the best common denominators is having a good time together. So whether that's at a festival or a sporting event, it can help people see those commonalities and minimize the differences. Some of our highlights, we were a 9-time Reader's Choice Award in Convention South Magazine. We secured 9 multi-year sporting events through 2031. We have things booked that far ahead. We, of course, partnered with the city of Shreveport, and I want to say a special thank you to Chief, where did he go? Chief Smith, behind the pillar, and Mayor Arsenault and the whole team for working together to really help Mardi Gras move forward in a very meaningful way, because Mardi Gras means about a $20 million economic impact to our community. So we're really excited about this year being even bigger and better. So in 2023, we hosted and supported 13 different convention and sports groups with more than an economic impact of $1 million each. So this is just a quick timeline of the conventions at the top in the red and the sports in the blue. These are all events that we hosted this last year that had over $1 million economic impact in our community. Coming up for 24 and 25, these are some more that have over $1 million economic impact. So as you can see, our schedule is pretty full. In our conventions booked, we're seeing that our numbers are really increasing. Year to date, we're almost up to our room nights of 2022 in our conventions, and our sports have already surpassed 2022. In our marketing, we are featured in the Rose Parade. We did that this year, and we'll be featured again next year through the Louisiana Office of Tourism. We hosted the Society of American Travel Writers 318 Restaurant Week. We did culinary trails, and we're just launched a brand new app. The website is about to launch later next month. Just a few other things. Looking at Expedia alone, our return on investment was about $17.4 or $17.40 for every $1 we spent in that advertising. We saw our website page views as well as Facebook page views go up significantly. Just a few trends. You can see we're on the increase in our average daily rate and the impact to the hotels. Our visitors spend, this kind of tells you where they spend most of their money on their accommodations. They do attractions, retail, as well as restaurants. The top 10 out-of-state visitor markets make up 47% of all of our visitors, and they are 33% more likely to be seen at a casino, and they spend 20% of the total visitor spend. Our top 6 markets are Monroe, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Alexandria, and Lake Charles in-state. So you can see those in-state visitors are having a significant impact on us as well. So we just completed, as you know, the Destination Master Plan, and we're moving that forward. And we've also worked on a 3-year strategic plan to really move that to the future. Looking at our budget overall, as you can see, sports and conventions and communications are the main avenues of spending. This sports is what we have budgeted within the regular bureau budget. We also have additional funds in the Sports Commission events budget as well. So the Tourist Bureau also has several divisions. We have the Holiday Trail of Lights, which some of you have probably seen some of those commercials starting to run now, featuring it's Shreveport, Bossier, Natchitoches, Monroe, and Alexandria, or some of the cities included in that. We have the Boomer Bus Byway, which is now a national scenic byway, which is Highway 2 through Caddo Parish. It also dips down on Highway 3049 and Highway 1, and then goes over Bossier, Bossier, Webster, and into Claiborne parishes, and it does a loop around Lake Claiborne. We also have the Film Office, the Sports Commission, and we have a reserve account for the sports as well, so that we can host those larger events. Again, I appreciate you allowing me to come before you today, tell you a little bit more about what we've been working on, and let you know how much we appreciate all that you do in making this not only a great place for people to live, but a great place for people to visit.
Thank you, Stacy. Any council member have any comments?
Hey, Stacy, thank you for the presentation. I'm always amazed at the amount of effort that goes into everything that y'all do that are really behind the scenes and we kind of take for granted. Did you say it was 800 million?
$819 million.
819 million. So
Yes.
based on the data that you have, are you willing to project like what we could expect next year based on the things that we have on tap for?
The economic forecast for next year is up a little, but not significant.
Okay.
I do feel like that does position us a little bit differently because we do have a lot of drive-in visitors. We can also pull from our closer in markets. Believe it or not, we have a lot of people from just outside of the 50 miles that come here and spend the night in our hotels, in our community, and they see us as their hub. So we do have that opportunity, which some of the bigger cities that are really based on those larger out-of-town airports, as we've all seen, flights are going up, that kind of thing. So it does position us well to be able to attract more. But we're not forecasting a huge increase for next year, but we do expect to have a good increase.
And I really appreciate it. I thought that I've heard it, you've heard it. It ticks me off. It probably ticks you off too, that we are so hard on ourselves. And really, I don't think for good reason. It seems that we're hard on ourselves because we look for the negative instead of looking at all the positive. But it really struck me that this guy or this person said, I've never been in a place that apologizes more for itself than here.
Yes.
And I hope that we can change that attitude and change it to an attitude of gratitude for what we have at Shreveport and what we could have, and the things that we could accomplish together. As you eloquently said, that that river is just a river.
Absolutely.
It really is not. Should there not be there to separate us? So our success is paramount to each other. Shreveport or Bossier and the surrounding areas. So.
And I didn't have time to show our brand video, but I'll be glad to share that. I'll send it to Tanya and have her send it
and
out
if
to all
would,
of
I
you to
think
make sure.
If you haven't already, send your presentation to
Absolutely.
Tanya, and she'll get it out to us.
So one
as
of the
well.
things we see from locals as I'm kind of going out and giving a presentation about the new brand, as people see the video, and I know Vice Chairman Taylor was at one of those meetings, and people are like, wow, that's where we live? I don't know where that is, or I haven't seen that, or what. And they're like, oh, wow. And I've had people say, hey, I want a copy of that because I want to send it to my kids. I want them to move back home. I want them to see what a great, vibrant place we live in. So it's acknowledging that, yes, we do have warts everybody else does too. So let's work to fix those, but let's capitalize on the great assets that we have.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor, you have any comments?
I do not. I certainly appreciate the job that Stacy and Shreveport Bossier, Visit Shreveport Bossier do. I got it.
I'm still having trouble.
I'm working at it. And I certainly appreciate the tremendous role that they played in us being able to work out the kinks that we had with Mardi Gras, and I greatly appreciate their efforts.
Thank you.
I do like the message, because I think that it's very difficult sometimes for people to understand that we are market. And again, I could appreciate that if Shreveport doesn't succeed, then that's not good for Bossier. And so we need to just make sure that that message continues to get pushed, that we are a market and it is vital for us to succeed in the collective.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you
Appreciate
again,
it.
Stacy, for, as Councilwoman Taylor said, we must be a destination and not someplace just people passing through onto somewhere else.
Absolutely.
We want your vacations to be planned around coming to Shreveport. And if you happen to go someplace else after that, that's fine, but we really do want to be a destination. And I thank you for doing everything you can to make that happen.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I couldn't be nearly as effective without the mayor and the staff of the city and the council and all that you do, because that is so important. And the safety and security, all the litter issues and the blight and everybody working together to overcome those are so important.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. Liz, you're up next. Also, we'd like to say we have visiting with us today, Superman Blunt is in the audience.
Superman.
Thank you.
Do you want him up here? Because he's actually more important.
No, we're good. Go ahead, Liz.
I don't have a lot to talk to you about today other than this packet that you probably have right in front of you. It's something that we do called a program of work. And the program of work is kind of like the Bible to us, because it's the things that our board and our community, our downtown businesses, our downtown property owners believe are very important to the continued vibrancy, the continuation of all the good things for downtown. So it's thick. There's a lot of information in here. It touches on a lot of things. Obviously, we can't go into as much detail as we would like to in this because it would make it so long as to be unreadable. But we look at the things that are on the horizon for downtown, the things that may be difficult, may trip us up in the long haul, some things that we need to be making sure that we're positioning ourselves for now. It continues to be residential as very important for downtown because that 24/7 foot traffic, converting historic buildings is, it continues to be something that is very important to downtown as a whole. We need to have a residential component downtown that are here to support eventual new businesses, the eventual grocery market that people continue to ask about, additional new retail, additional new eateries, and things of that nature. So residential is high on our list of interests and things that we would like to help incentivize to come downtown. We have several buildings in our downtown area that are ripe, we believe, for residential conversions. One that we'll be talking further with about to the mayor next week is the Petroleum Tower at 425 Edwards Street. We've been talking about that building now for a number of years. We've had several different investors and developers interested in the building. We've had COVID. Things have changed with lending practices. The cost of money has gone up. The cost of rehab has gone up. But we continue to work with those developers who are trying to find ways to make that project work. That could be an additional 120 to 130 apartments in downtown. So that would be significant. All of that residential can also help our office buildings downtown. When you take a look at the office buildings that make our skyline what it is today, the Regions Tower, the American Tower, Louisiana Tower, the Beck Building, Mid-South Tower, all of those things that kind of make our downtown what it is, they are suffering in a big way. They've been suffering since COVID. There has been a sea change throughout the country, not just in downtown Shreveport, but throughout the country in how people look at office space, the amount of office space they need, the amount of office space they're willing to pay for. We are seeing our super regional, our larger banks, they're changing their entire business model. They're moving out of downtown and in some cases really consolidating throughout our community. It's become harder and harder for these buildings to justify that amount of office space. But what do you do with a building that's 500,000 square feet that was built for office space? When you look at residential, every residential unit has a kitchen and has a bathroom. When you look at offices in an office building, you have office, 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 maybe a bathroom down at the end. You don't have kitchens, you don't have bathrooms, and putting that infrastructure in is incredibly expensive. We have been working with Senator Bill Cassidy and with others at the federal level to talk about potentially some federal incentives that might become available that would work much like the historic tax credit to help reposition these buildings to be converted into something else. It could be converted into residential, into mixed use, and there would be an affordable component to every building that would access, at least in the talking stages of what they're thinking about doing at the federal level. We continue to have issues with crime in downtown, just like the rest of the city. You know, our thoughts and feelings really do go out to the police department. We know that they are understaffed. We know that it is very tough to keep on top of everything that's going on in our very stretched out city. But downtown continues to need some, at least some people who will be with downtown on a consistent basis, know the players, know the businesses, know the locations, and be able to assist when needed. As you probably saw on television or read in the newspaper, we had a situation just a couple of weeks ago where someone came through with what appears to be a high-velocity slingshot and broke a number of high-dollar windows up and down Texas Street and up and down Travis Street. These are the kinds of things that happen if people feel like there is nobody watching. And so we're working with the city on more cameras. We're working with the city on technology. If there aren't people, are there technology ways that we can make our downtown visitors, residents, and property owners feel safer? So I don't want to take a lot of your time, but quite honestly, the things that we work on at the DDA in this program of work are really in a microcosm, the things that all of you work on every single day in your districts. It's important to you, it's important to us. So if we find answers to these questions, we will share them with you, and we ask that you share your answers with us as well. Are there any questions that I can answer for you?
Yeah, I have a few questions, Liz. About downtown, the DA, are there any changes to come as far as beautification? Like, I hate bringing this up, like what Bossier has, their streetscape downtown. Bossier, they have the trees and all of that stuff. Is there any beautification to come downtown?
Absolutely. I think you have probably noticed that we have, hopefully you've noticed that we have some new trees downtown. They're the smaller ones, but they will grow. When Snowmageddon hit downtown, just like the rest of the city, we lost a lot of trees. And several years ago, the city was very generous in allocating some dollars for us to be able to purchase some additional trees downtown. Those trees have been deployed. Now, unfortunately, what happened is they were planted last year, and then this drought from this past summer killed some of them. So they're going to have to be replaced. That will be done between now and March of next year. So trees, yes. We're also doing something called Adopt a Pot. We're paying for most of it. $300 really just gets your name in the pot, but we've had a number of people come forward with sponsorships. These are going to be huge pots that are going to be filled with plants that we're going to be putting along Texas Street. And depending on how well they grow and if we have any other issues that come with deploying those big planters, out on Texas Street. We will start putting them around the rest of downtown, so we're excited about that. The Remington Hotel is already going to be putting some in front of their block of the 200 block of Travis Street. So we have those going. We are working with SWEPCO in the city and other partners on some additional lighting downtown. We also have a lighting grant that we are offering to some of our businesses downtown to do additional lighting that will spill out onto the sidewalk, into the street, so it will give people that additional sense of safety. And we're working with the city on purchasing for them some additional security cameras. So we've got a lot of things in that regard working right now.
What about the Red River District? I heard the guy who came down some time ago, he was talking about how bad it was.
Chase
Do
Boyer?
you think it would be best if we would outsource the Red River District to a company that could basically zero in on it to make it be the Red River District that it was designed to be?
That is a really interesting question, and I think it bears additional discussion. I think that it would be a headache that the city would appreciate allowing someone else to focus on. I mean, the city has so much that the city has to do. You have so many buildings, you have so many people pulling you in 1,000 different directions, that if you could find a third-party manager of that space who would come and do it to the level that the city would be proud of, I think that is something that you might want to consider. There are some positive movements right now in the Red River District. SPAR has gone in and has added additional lighting. So the lighting problem that Chase was talking about, from what I understand, has been completely alleviated. It is very lit up in the Red River District now. I was talking to Lee Hall Properties, who is your property management right now, and they were telling me that there has been some conversation with SPAR about coming in and doing some more plantings and getting rid of anything that's dead and replacing it with beautiful greenery. You have two new businesses in the Red River District. Cassandra's on the River had a soft opening last week, and a new little tea shop called Fusion Nutrition just opened this past week. So I think that things are moving in a positive direction for the Red River District, but once the Expo Hall opens as a sporting facility, I think that you're going to see people spill out of that and want to have additional amenities available to them. And I think that that will definitely incentivize those businesses that are looking for a place to light to take a look at the Red River District.
Okay. What is, my last question, what is the lowest pay of your employees and what do they do?
The lowest paid employee that we have is one of our it's one of our Shreve parking patrollers, and he is still in his 90-day probationary window, and he's at $12 an hour.
You just have one person at 12?
We have two in Streetscape that are $12, and then we have 3 employees in Shreve Park that are $12, and both of them are in their 90-day probationary window. And then we have 3 employees in Streetscape that are currently due for raises.
And so once they finish the 90-day, then what will their hourly be?
Well, when they finish their 90 days, then the supervisor of Shreve Park, will determine whether they will remain with Shreve Park. He'll talk to them, find out if the job is a fit with them, if they want to continue on, take a look at, how their activities have been over the prior 90 days, and then they will go up to either $14 or $15 an hour.
Okay. Thank you. Any council member have any questions? Thank you, Liz.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any awards, recognition of distinguished guests not to exceed? You got it. Okay, go. Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman has,
Chief Smith.
Chief Smith. I'm sorry. Okay.
Chief, so for the last 2.5 weeks, we've had pretty much a surge in some of our violent homicides within the city. That's been a great level of concern. for a number of citizens. I think a lot of it has happened pretty much in your area, Councilman Green. And I know that I've had a couple of incidents that have occurred in my area, and crime is always a concern for our citizens. Without going into detail, what are some additional steps that we're taking? Because for me, what I had the city attorney to look into was declaring a public safety emergency on all of this violence that is happening in this city, to garner whatever additional support that is needed for you all to target any level of activity that you all see that you may need some additional support on. I don't know the age range of these individuals, but for looking at the individuals that are deceased are all upper 20s. I don't know what the beef is that is occurring, but it is pretty scary because they're happening at various times of the day, and it's a cross section of the city for wherever it is that they see their target. So I asked the city attorney to look at, along with the council attorney, to look at declaring a public safety emergency at this point. Because when we have this level of crime that is occurring, I don't want it to be this level of fear that will cripple this city. So if there is any additional support that is out there, not that you all are not doing that, I'm not saying that at all, but if there is any other additional support that we will can garner, that is my first priority for that. So if you could just speak to a little of that for our citizens, where it can have some clarity in my brain as well of what we're doing.
Our focus has been on the much bigger picture lately. I can assure the citizens across our community that what has been happening has not been just random. And I think you said it earlier, you recognize that they are intended targets. We have sought the support of others beyond SPD to help us get to the root cause of this violence, which quite often is not what you see or hear about, not the victims or the perpetrators that we catch. There is a much larger picture. And so we are targeting that which we feel confident will reduce what you've seen over the past few weeks.
You don't have to answer this, but for me, of what I'm looking at from the council perspective as well as Mr. Mayor, and declaring a public safety emergency when I've just asked the attorney's office to look at this. And again, the focus for me is to gain whatever additional support is needed, because safety is the priority going into the holiday season, and making sure that everything that you need, you have it. And I will say to you that the public safety fund that we have, or there are any resources that the police department needs, I am asking you to make whatever withdrawals that you need to make for that, for us to be able to curtail this crime. Because again, with what we're dealing with now in the city, these individuals don't care what time of day, they don't care what part of the city that you're in, and I think people need to understand that. They don't care what part of the city that you're in, that if they see their target, that's where they're shooting.
And you're exactly right. And the organized part of it is expanding, being a lot more creative than what you see or think about. And I tell you, I can assure you, the administration has not been hesitant whatsoever to grant me whatever relief or help that I need to supply, to my officers to do their jobs. And thank all of you so much for that. I brag about this council and this administration to my peers across the country about how we support each other and how I get the support that I need during these most difficult times. We are exploring and implementing some very creative ways to target these individuals that are up the ladder that's being responsible for our crimes, and I can't say much more than that about it, but we are working hard to bring justice.
Okay. Well, I'll speak to you additionally about, again, 4th of
Okay.
July in the MLK community, but I just, so you understand, Mr. Mayor, Chief, I am ready and ready to declare a public safety emergency to
Okay.
get you whatever you need.
Got you. Thank you so much.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Chief Smith, I'm going to say I hate to bring it up again, but I don't. There's surveillance trailers. Where are we?
I talked to Mr. West just last week about that, and he assures me as soon as we are ready, he can put them in production and have them to us, hopefully by time for Mardi Gras. But we're working on it, absolutely.
Yeah, what, we're not ready?
With the public bid law, it's first because we're buying two. It's got to go through that entire process, and he got a bid, just like everyone else who is qualified to do that.
Okay.
So we're ready, and we're not quite ready yet. We're ready, but we got to make sure that we follow the rules of law to make it happen.
Any idea about how long that takes?
No, so I know it's in the process. I don't know, but he assures me that if he get the bid, he can have it here with us. And some of the technical sides of that, I don't clearly understand how to make the equipment talk and interface with what we got. I'd rather not say much because I'll say something wrong.
But Chief, on those trailers, on whatever you have to order, would you order one at a time and then order another one just so that we'll have the ball rolling? Maybe we probably need 5, I'd say.
Yes.
I'm just using that as a number.
Yeah.
But if we could order one at a time, then whatever to circumvent whatever the bid law is. I'm just saying.
Okay, I'll speak with Mr. Dark and the city attorney to make sure, that I'm legal to do that and,
Let me ask you.
don't do anything wrong. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Marcus,
That's actually a city attorney question.
Yes.
City attorney.
Word, that tends to make attorneys.
Attorney Edwards,
We've been waiting since March for these.
I agree. We've been waiting on it for a long time.
March.
No, you,
yeah, let me ask you a question.
Well, we demoed it in June.
correct.
If we just order one at a time,
December.
would that eliminate the bid law and all that kind of stuff if we got a public emergency?
You asked two separate questions. One is dependent upon the price. I don't know what the unit price of this particular object is,
It's
but
It's $37,000.
$37,000,
It's
So-
$37,000 per trailer.
correct.
so the limit is 25. So even if it's $37,000 a piece, we would still have to bid out each individual purchase if we were to do it one at a time. To the question about declaring a public emergency, there may be. I'd have to take a look to see because
Could you
our
get that
public
back? Could
emergency.
you check it and get it back to us tomorrow?
I sure can.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
All right.
Councilwoman, thank you, Chief. That's it. Yeah.
Yes, thanks, Chief.
Councilwoman Bowles.
Yeah. Mr. Blunt, you wanna come up?
Good evening.
Hello, Sue.
Taft Cat.
I'm going to the gym soon.
Well,
Soon
I
as
got,
Christmas, soon
I
as
got
Christmas
here. I
over.
got here.
Wait till after the first of the year.
I know. I got here a little late. I normally like to come before council and show a video of all the things that we're doing in the community and the things that you all are supporting. and helping us with here. And each and every person here know that my passion and my love is long life, health, and wellness in this community. You know, briefly, I was asked why I came back to Shreveport. When I was in Atlanta, I was training all these pro people and working with Hall of Fame athletes and things like that. And when I got back to Shreveport, got saved, filled with the Holy Ghost, the Lord told me, he said, I didn't need you in Atlanta. I brought you back home so you can help me set my people free. I didn't understand that. But what we've got to do here is to continue focus on longevity, long life, and the health of our citizens. People, well, we're going to the first of the year, Tabitha. It's time to start doing a detox and cleaning. And after Thanksgiving, the way we eat. But overall, I just want to thank you all for all that you've done for Fit for Life, the support that I get, that we can continue to bring in these great athletes from all over the world. Economic impact has reached over $3 million. So it's a great event that we do, and I just want to thank you all for all your help and support.
Superman, you are by far one of the best trainers, I don't care, in the United States. Seriously.
Thank you.
Your commitment and dedication to health is unmatched. So, I mean, I thank you for everything that you do. You're probably the only person besides my mama that I run when I see if I'm not doing it.
That's true.
But I thank you for your commitment to community, to health, and to help to make Shreveport great and the state of Louisiana, because you have been fighting obesity here, I know, for 15 plus years.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. So
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Mr. Mayor, do you have any other communications relative to city business?
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor, did you all have a chance to check with Dick's Sporting Goods about the fields?
I did not, and I believe that one slipped by us, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
But we'll put it back on the list.
Yes, sir, thank you. Does any member have any concerns relative to property standards for Mr. Green?
Let him sashay on. Sashay.
No, no one?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just want to thank Mr. Green for his due diligence in networking regarding the Jolie Apartments over there, Turtle Creek, I think, anyway. It's a problem area. It's a quality of life issue, for many of those residents over there. And I think we're finally making some headway through your efforts and hopefully through zoning efforts to actually turn that place around or close it down, one or the other. And I do appreciate your effort. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Mr. Green, you can sashay on out of here. Mr. Clark, will you have a master plan report? Thank you. Will there be a budget and actual finance report tomorrow, I'm sure? Public hearing, we will have public hearings tomorrow on ordinance number 144 of 2023. We will have 2 items to be added tomorrow. Mr. Dark, would there be any other legislation to be added?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Thank you. Today, we will have public comments on agenda items and non-agenda items. The vice chair will control the list and the time.
Mr. Kraft?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Ken Krepp, 157 Archer, Shreveport, 71105. If you want to get people downtown, Liz, plant pot in the big pots. The bond committee meets again Thursday, and they're getting near the end of their work, and that'll be the one project not included, which concerns me and my Broadmoor neighbors, is Firehouse 11 at the north, at Uri and Albany. It was included in the November 16th, 2019 bond issue when Chief Wolverton was chief, as a 79-year-old house. Now it's 83. It's older than the president, who made 81 a week ago. And my concern is the 4 precincts, it lies in precinct 13. And if you count 10, 12, and 14, those 4 are 4 of the top 5 voting precincts historically over 45 years since I've been in Shreveport, Caddo Parish. They turn up. And every vote's going to count. Ask Mr. Nicholson and Chief Whitehorn. So, in April 27th, we have to get items to the Secretary of State by March 4th, which means we need to make the February 15th Bond Commission meeting, which means we need to get it ready by January 16th to go to the Bond Commission, which means it needs to pass no later than January 9th on second reading, which means it needs to be introduced right after Christmas, or if y'all move it. So this committee will soon wrap up. My final request is that if the mayor and the CEO don't recommend with the fire chief a new house at 11, 83 years young, then maybe I'll appeal to the infrastructure committee, and the chairman is the chair of the infrastructure committee. And we really need a new house because those people have an 83-year-old structure, they vote, and let's just see if we can include Fire Station 11 in the bond proposition. It would be greatly helpful. I'd hate to lose in April by a few votes because we left it out. Thank you very much. Heisman, Jaden Daniels.
Of course.
Okay. That concludes public comments.
Thank you. We will have an executive appointment to consider tomorrow. There are no items on the consent agenda for introduction to be adopted. Mr. Dark, would you proceed with regular agenda legislation?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. By the way, just to go back to the discussion you all had with the police chief a while ago, the $25,000 threshold is a city-imposed requirement. I'm going to ask the city attorney and the director of finance to see if there might be a different number we could recommend. I think the state has a higher limit. I'm not sure what it is, but this is one we've done to ourselves, and we keep having this discussion over and over, and it may be something that we want to talk to you about later.
It's the state's 50, I think.
Excuse me?
I think it's 50.
I think it is as well, but I'm not sure. It doesn't stand to reason that we would put more stringent restrictions on ourselves than the state law does. Okay, 137 authorizes the mayor to sign an approval of an assignment of a lease. This is another one of those in a series where somebody got the bid on one of the city-owned properties. They're wanting to assign it to a different natural gas development company. These have been fairly routine, and they won't change production or lease terms or anything else. 138 is also one you've seen before in a different version. Approving an annual payment in lieu of taxes. This is part of a solar company outside the parish. The Northwest Louisiana Finance Authority is involved in doing it because y'all are sort of the overseeing agent of that. It has to come here for approval. 139 authorizes the mayor to enter into a lease agreement with the school board, essentially for the Caddo Magnet High School softball field, so they can do some development on that. 140 basically authorizes an amendment to a lease. There was a lease done between First Methodist Church and Millennium back when First Methodist Church was First United Methodist, and back when Millennium owned the property, and now that First Methodist is now just First Methodist, and Millennium is now us. In order to have that lease for the parking lot, the lease amendment needs to be done. 141 amends the pay plan for classified employees. We talked to you some over the course of the budget about trying to get away from two pay structures so that the people who come in now will not be making 10% less than the people who happen to start prior to 2022. That one you can either vote on tomorrow, or you can choose to postpone it until the same day you pass budget. It doesn't matter. That's one way or the other. 124 is approving the DDA program of work with Swain Tow. 143 recognizes La Mesa Flurry. Apparently she is the National School Counselor of the Year, or Area School Counselor of the Year, works at Eden Gardens, also does an anti-bullying program in Ms. Bowman. One of her programs.
Are there any questions on any of these items? If not, Mr. Dark, will you proceed with introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to December 12, 2023?
144 authorizes the donation of one of the Shreveport canines. This one is a little unusual in the sense that we apparently got this particular canine under the provision of a program that said that the canine's handler no longer was involved in dealing with a particular canine, that we would retire the animal, and the handler has been promoted out of the canine crew, so this animal is actually being donated to the handler. 145 amends the fee schedule for the EMS services. We had put into the budget request a 5% revenue increase. In order to do that, what we'll be doing primarily by this legislation is standardizing the rates with the city of Bossier for basic and ALS services. 146, 7, and 8 are all contracts for Mardi Gras, for parades. 146 is the African American History Parade, 147 Crew of Harambe, and 148 is the Crew of Sobek. And I believe y'all are adding at least the one for the Crew of Highland. I think that's one of the two that you're adding as well. 149 authorizes the mayor to do a cooperative endeavor agreement between the city and the state for a project for which we've gotten $955,000 in capital outlays for the medical core, healthcare and development corridor, as they describe it. This, we hope, is the first installment on being able to replace the Linwood Avenue Bridge. 150 and 151 are both amendments to the agreement we have with the port relative to fire station number 20. 150 changes or adds a provision to require us to send an industrial hygienist to inspect the facility once a quarter and be able to expense that under the terms of the agreement. 151 is actually a good thing for us. It amends the CEA with the parish. It's going to allow some excess bond money that the port has amassed to be used to help put the station back in operating. So it may not take any additional appropriations from you all to do that. That's something that we're very thankful Eric England suggested to us, and looks like that's something that's going to work. 152 amends a cooperative agreement that was done just at the end of the prior administration between the city and sustainability partners. Some of y'all have asked about when we're going to try to go to automated water meters. This is the first step in doing that. We have been working to do this in a way that some if not all of the burden of doing the installation and maintenance and everything else is transferred to a private company. Obviously, we'll be paid for it, but I've met with the folks that are involved in this. What we're going to do, there'll actually be another contract at a later time. We have a second firm that will essentially be the contract monitor, because this is one of those kind of projects where things can get out of hand if you're paying by the meter and all that. So we're going to have a separate company come in. Sometimes they do them with sustainability, but this one we really like it. It worked really well on the debris removal, where we had an independent, somebody who was working for us doing that. But it will start with a fairly limited pilot program to make sure all the bugs are worked out before they move into a process that could easily take 3 to 4 years, depending on how it all goes. But it's the first start of something that a number of you have asked for.
Mr. Director.
Sure.
On this water meters, this new plan, we won't need water meter readers?
There will not be any water meter.
Okay, so everything will be automatic?
I mean, obviously, there'll be some during the transition, because as long as we have
Okay.
the old kind, there'll be somebody reading those. But at the end, the meters will transmit electronically.
Okay, thank you.
What would happen to those jobs?
It'll happen slowly enough to where if those employees want to stay around with us, we will find them a place. It's not something that's going to just zap them all at once. They use a lot of temps now, I think, so, because that's a hard job to keep them entertained.
Are there any other questions on these items? Mr. Dark, would you proceed with introduction of ordinance not to be adopted prior to December 12, 2023?
Okay, 163 and 167 are companions to each other. 163 amends the general fund budget to transfer $360,000 more to the solid waste fund, so it'll stay within its budget. 167 is the ordinance that actually receives that money. Their payroll numbers have gone up more than we had estimated, and as a result, we needed to do some more amendments. 164 amends the capital budget to do two things. We have been trying to get the fire station on Greenwood Road awarded for some time, and the low bid is about $600,000 more than the project budget, so we're asking for some ARP money to fund the additional. And Shelley has come to me and asked for $750,000 to put a roof on Expo, which we had hoped we could wait for bond issue, but we've not really been able to do that. 165 amends the capital budget to create a project for the C.C. Antoine Museum and Arts Center. I believe there's been some discussion with Councilmember Taylor on all that not too long ago, and that's one where we've gotten a good bit of state capital outlay money, and like, well, $420,000, and I think there's another $170,000 coming from community development. 166 basically corrects a couple of mistakes in prior capital budget ordinances to get the funding source right and get one project number corrected. I just discussed 167. 168 declares a public emergency in connection with repairing a couple of the sludge presses at the North Regional Wastewater Plant. This would not normally have to come to you, but because the cost exceeded $150,000, it does. It actually cost $176,500. 169 is a part of our budget things where we had put in a 5% increase in building permit fees. 169 is the amendment that does that. 170 is an amendment that you all see every year. It comes from the healthcare board to you. We changed all the percentages and that people will be paying and the share between the city and the employee or the city and the retiree, where 1% more is now being paid by either the employer or the retiree for next year. And the healthcare board has approved that. 171 is another budget-related fee increase to add the $3 charge to the solid waste fee effective in January. 172 and 173 are amendments to increase the water and sewer rates effective first of the year.
Mr. Stark,
Yes, sir.
would you explain 171, 172, and 173 as to why we need to do that now?
As part of putting the 2024 budget together, we determined that in order to do the things that we thought we needed to do, and specifically related to police and fire recruitment retention, that we needed some extra revenue we did not have. And as a result, the decision was made to attempt to increase the solid waste fee from $7 to $10. That brings in a little over $2.2 million a year, which is approximately equal to the amount of money we needed to find to do the first year of the fire and police stuff. 172 and 3 are there because we have not met our bond covenants for appropriate water and sewer revenues for the last 2 years and probably won't meet it this year. And it has been recommended that we increase water and sewer rates to an amount that will allow us to do that. I am doing some negotiation right now with our CPA and our bond attorneys to make absolutely sure that this is the number we need. But we are going to make sure that whatever the outcome ends up being, that we end up being able to say very clearly that we are meeting our bond covenants, because it is affecting us adversely. Water and sewer can't access a number of the grant programs in the state that they have been getting money for because we are currently out of compliance, and that's a big deal. We have a good bit of money in limbo right now, pending some outcome of the decision.
What does 20% look like on a water bill, on an average water bill?
I would like to give you that tomorrow. I don't know the exact number, but I will get you a number that says this is what an average bill looks like.
Yeah, this is the concern. As those rates go up, the concern is going to be for the consumer, of what they feel that they're already paying. And then we're gonna come back, and then there's gonna be the bond issue. And if that passes, then there's another increase. And then you have that for the garbage, and then that's another increase there. So, it is the breakdown there for the consumer, which are our constituents, where we understand that where the needs are. But still, how is that going to factor into their overall household budget?
Okay. Well, what I might be able to do is give you something that would perhaps break down what the impact of all those are individually and then individually and then together.
Okay.
But I can certainly get you the one on the water and sewer bills. If you get water and sewer, tell me what an average customer's usage is.
And if 171, 172, 173, could they be postponed? Could they be voted down? What is that?
Well, you've got two different answers, 172 and 173. Almost certainly, unless I get a completely different answer from what we've been hearing on coverage, we're going to have the same situation we got now. We're out of compliance. We have potential to be downgraded again. We can't access the state money. 171 not passing basically means we have a $2.2 million hole in the budget.
But I'm saying they can be voted down, correct? Or no?
Well, you have.
Because that
power.
was a discussion that they could not be. So that's why I'm asking for
Well,
clarity.
I think we want, whatever you end up doing in 171 and 172, 173,
Okay.
we need to make sure we can do everything we can to meet the bond coverage requirements that we have.
Okay.
I'm hoping to be able to give you a slightly lower number,
Mhm.
and that will help. But I think at the end of the day, not being in compliance is a choice you really do not want to make. We'd like to get you there as inexpensively as we can, but there are a number of consequences to that that are pretty difficult.
Okay.
171, let's say, if it does not pass, we have a $2.2 or so million hole in the budget that we're gonna have to find a way to be filled.
Questions, Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Dark, if we don't pass 172 and 173, what's the deadline? If we do postpone it, what's the deadline not to be in compliance? Is there a deadline?
Well, what's gonna happen is, this is not going to affect whether you're in compliance in 2023 anyway.
Right.
Because this is not for 2023. It takes a certain amount of revenue to get you to compliance. And I think the short answer is, if you were to delay this, you might have to have a bigger number in order to get the same amount of revenue in 2024.
Okay.
Like I say, I'm hoping well before you have to vote on this in a couple of weeks, to be able to say to you, either it's got to be the 20, or we've been able to find some workarounds through the CPA and the bond lawyers to make it a little bit smaller.
Okay.
But bottom line is, we want to be in compliance.
Right. Thank you.
So in essence, the sooner we pass it, the more time we have to collect the revenue.
Bottom line, yes, sir.
Are there any other questions on any of these items?
But you're gonna come in and make sure that you try to give me some facts and figures, because what the constituents are going to ask for is what that dollar amount is on their water bill.
That's
They're
exactly what.
they're gonna wanna know, what is this going to be? What is this going to equate to? Because you can easily say 20%, and 20% in some years is a lot if you were already on a fixed income. So again, I understand the compliance issue, but I also understand that people have to be able to pay their water bill.
And one of the things that it's clear, we have a program already for folks who have difficulty paying their water bills that does not appear to be getting used very much. And one way or the other, we need to get that word out a little bit better. Because yes, there are some people that it's hard now, and it isn't going to be any easier whether the increase is 20% or something less. The one thing I will tell you is that what I will be giving you is that there will be two things that would go up immediately. Solid waste fee would go up immediately in February. Water and sewer bills would go up in February. The property taxes that might be associated with the bond issue down the road might well not go up till end of 25 or something like that. I mean, but the two others are immediate.
You give us an average figure too, if we look at that bond issue, of what that figure would be in property taxes. That would go up as well.
Absolutely.
So on that water bill assistance, how many times can a citizen use that?
There is a limit, but I can't tell you exactly what it is. I'll find out and let you know.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on these items? Mr. Dork, would you proceed with ordinance on second reading and final passage?
Yes, sir. I'm not really sure what you're gonna wanna do with 144, because Councilman Butcher's not here. I know that Mr. Avalone has asked for postponement in your consideration of this. I'm not aware of where that stands legally, but he's raised a number of issues that he also raised in slightly different form 2 weeks ago. And it may well be that between now and tomorrow at this time, you may decide to have the public hearing and then not act, or to not have the public hearing at all and choose to postpone. That's something that you probably ought to visit the city attorney on before.
We'll also ask Councilman Butcher to give us some direction tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, 147 and 148 are companions. 147 amends the airport's budget, 148 amends the capital budget. In effect, what 147 is doing is appropriating some airport funds to a couple of capital projects that are being created with other funding as well. 149 is a capital budget amendment to use ARP money for 3 projects. It is my understanding that, looking at this, there's some amendments that have been prepared so that you would have the opportunity to vote on these individually. The assistant city attorney and I have been visiting during the meeting. I looked at these. They're going to need to be rewritten before tomorrow if you're going to choose to vote on them, because right now, the way they're written, you would be doubling the appropriation for each project and not killing it if you pass these. I think the suggestion is going to be something to the effect, if you choose to do it this way, that an amendment would say, delete the appropriation for X project. And that way, if you want to delete it, you vote yes, and if you want to keep it, you vote no. That's likely to be what would come out of tomorrow, but what you have as amendments right now, you do not need to vote on in that form. 150 is
So,
one last
Mr. Dork,
cleanup.
you're gonna have the city attorney to give them the appropriate language?
I think Manushka and I will figure out what the
Okay.
appropriate language. We passed emails back when y'all were doing public comment and have agreed we need to fix it. We'll just try to work on some language so that what you have tomorrow will give you the opportunity to do what you have asked, apparently, which is to vote individually on the 3. What you would have is an amendment that said, delete the appropriation for 4th Street, delete the appropriation for 9th Street, delete the appropriation for the street projects, and whatever's left, you pass as amended. And obviously, if they all 3 were deleted, we vote the ordinance in.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay, 150 is what I hope is the last cleanup of the general fund for the year. All of the changes except one in Public Works are net zero. One in Public Works is being paid for by an additional $180,000 in natural gas royalties that we already have in hand. 151 is an amendment to the general fund to allow us to make a $1 million one-time payment to the Fireman's Pension and Relief Fund to attempt to begin to bring it back toward financial stability. It's only 44% funded. We have not made a payment in quite a while. The police board is going to sue us over the fact that we haven't paid them, but they're in much better shape right now. The fire fund is the one that needs the attention right now, so that's why we suggested we do that.
And Mr. Darkin, a quick question here. So we contribute $1 million towards the fund. What percentage does that bring that fund up to with that contribution?
Probably a little over 50. It would take a whole lot more than that to get it up to the 80 or 85%.
What's it now, 44?
44 is the last number I saw. The police one is in the mid-80s, which may eventually mean some issues. What this eventually is going to do is that at some point, way down the road, the 2 old pension systems are going to run out of money if we don't try to shore them up a little now, and particularly the fire. And if that happens, you're going to have to begin to make those payments just out of general operating budgets, because we have an obligation to pay the benefits until the last person who is entitled to them passes away. And that may be 50 years from now. But right now that we had the opportunity to put a little extra in as partly as a gesture of good faith to the fire fund, which is, considerably underfunded. So that's why we suggested that you do that.
And just for general knowledge, the reason that it is such a deficit is it has been the city's neglect, or how does
Well, let me
one
give
get
you
that far down?
Give you
or-
the short version.
Yeah.
About 40 years ago, there was an agreement made that we would make payments into these systems for a certain number of years, and that was supposed to be enough. And then they did a bond deal a few years back that was also supposed to be enough. But what happens is people live longer.
Right.
Every time you give a policeman a raise, the benefits to the widows go up. Just a number of things where the calculations essentially didn't work, and what a number of folks in the last administration's position was, we pay all we're going to pay in, we're not going to pay anymore. And that position is untenable, because we really do, in fact, have an obligation to the survivors and to widows and all that. And so as a result, our position has been, we are going to try as we can to try to keep those funds alive as long as we can, so that the day can be postponed when at some point you have to do this with just general tax relief. This happened to be a year when we could.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, 152, amends community development budget to reappropriate a couple $100,000 from the Department of Interior for Old Galilee and $500,000 from the Home Mortgage Authority for Bayou Grande Apartments. I think these are things that have been appropriated at one point and did not get appropriated for this year and needed to be. 153 amends the golf budget. We didn't do a cleanup on it when we did the others some time back. This one moves $150,000 from their reserves to pay supplies and salaries and services. 154 amends the water and sewer budget. Their chemical costs are more than what we currently have in budget, and so we're taking $300,000 from reserve and $300,000 elsewhere in the budget to make that one work. 155 amends the MPC budget, moves $6,000 from salaries to supplies. 156 is the newest version of the District F tax increment financing district, and although it could be adopted tomorrow under the original schedule, there's a requirement in the legislation for a public hearing to be held before passage. So we need to schedule one for next time so it can be adopted, I believe. Mr. Busada is here to, if there's any questions on the workings of the ordinance itself, but essentially it's creating the same kind of tax increment district that exists several other places in the city. It will require at some point us to create a budget for it and a proposal to expend whatever additional tax dollars come in. But this is the prerequisite to doing that.
Thank you.
Tom,
Yes.
am I going to possibly have to do the same thing with the TIF district that we voted on for A
I believe
around
you probably
Amazon?
are.
And possibly having Attorney Brasada to look at them both.
I think that would be,
for A
my
and
impression
F.
is Amazon was created.
Yes.
But nothing ever happened.
Right.
And what I would suggest that perhaps he do, and he's listening, so, is to take a look at the legislation that created the one for Amazon and see if anything else is needed to be
You
done,
can
or if
come
it
up.
simply needs to be created.
Come on up, Mike.
I mean, if it
Yes.
simply needs to be activated, once Amazon opens.
Correct.
Did I get you in trouble, Mike, or?
No, not too bad.
Okay,
I think you
not
knew-
too bad is good enough.
I think you knew that one for, when we did with the Amazon, was between the city, the parish, the school system, but then we did not dedicate the tax portion of it from the city end, but the legislation has already passed.
Right.
As it relates to that. So I think particularly at this time that we would be looking at pretty much the same path as what Councilman Green is proposing for ELF, and just really going in and dedicating what that overage will be in the area. So I would think that we would look for exponential growth in that North Market corridor once Amazon opens in 2024.
Absolutely. And Mike Busada, 401 Market Street.
Absolutely, and I talked to, actually, the parish had reached out to me about that as well,
Okay.
about the district. And so what I'd love to do is just make sure that everything I'm aware of publicly that's been passed, I'll get that information from the city. But based on what I looked at, there were some additional things that need to be done in order for you to be able to collect that revenue and then to use that revenue, as well as some additional agreements that need to be put in place. But we can make sure we get all that taken care of.
The last time, I think, before Dr. Wilson left, they were looking at a management company to go over and manage and see what was needed for the TIP district.
Mhm.
And I think you would possibly be able to get those last sets of minutes from Mr. Everson.
Okay, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
157 amends the solid waste ordinance. Annually, the contractor that runs the landfill has the opportunity or the authority to ask us to raise rates based on the CPI, and they have done so at 6% for next year, and this just passes that on. 158 is the recreation of the noise abatement ordinance part as far as the noise measurement part. It's been discussed a great deal. This is essentially what was in the original pairing and was vetoed along with the original one. That now that we have a noise ordinance, this needs to be passed so that we have the proper ways to measure it that don't always involve somebody from water and sewer. 159 amends the UDC relative to liquor sales to make it a little bit clearer what exactly will keep a liquor store in compliance, to make it much easier to eliminate a permit for liquor sales if a location is closed, to make it very clear that certain variances cannot be done for alcohol sales. Mr. Clark's here if you have any questions on that one.
I do.
All right.
Mr. Clark. Good afternoon, Mr. Clark.
Good
I
afternoon.
use the liquor store that is closed in my district, and if they wanted to reopen where the old Right Way liquor
If it's
was.
closed for 90 days,
Mhm.
it will not be able to reopen unless it meets all the requirements of the liquor ordinance,
Okay.
the spacing requirements and so forth.
Okay.
I think that's what you all were saying at one point, that, and you may have thought that I just didn't have a life because I listened to y'all's appeals with the liquor, but I was trying to find out exactly what problems were actually occurring in the city in order for us to try to address them.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
I got the answer you were asking for a little while ago during the meeting.
Okay.
The state bid limits are $60,000 for materials and supplies and $250,000 for public works.
So we would just need to do
We need to do an ordinance amendment if you choose to change that to match it. There's some other things we've also done to ourselves, but this would seem to be the easiest one to eliminate some of the issues that we've all been frustrated by.
Don't mind sponsoring it.
I mean, we got,
Coach Sloan.
Yeah, don't mind sponsoring it.
you'd like for me to write it between now and the next
Correct.
10 minutes, but I can't,
Correct.
can't do that.
Yes, you can write it tonight. And you can
Coach
vote on
Sloan.
it and see if we can add it to the
I'm Coach
agenda for
Sloan.
introduction.
You know, we might.
You might be able to do
Might be
that.
able to do that, depends on how
Okay.
long it takes to figure out what an average water bill is.
Exactly.
Let's see, what else we have? We have 160, which amends the UDC relative to accessory dwelling units, which more clearly defines what one is and where one can be placed on property. Tries to, I think, clarify where you have a number of provisions that needed to be consolidated. Again, if you got any really detailed questions, Mr. Clark needs to do those. 161 is a piece of rezoning 23-178 C on Linwood near Mount Zion. Sorry. R1 to C1. They asked for C3. MPC did not give them that. They gave them C1. This is a long, narrow tract along Linwood that I think the owner wanted to be able to have business in front and perhaps a residence in the back. It was approved unanimously by the MPC, and that's in Dr. Jackson's district. 162 is the lease with G Unit, which cannot be acted on until December 12th.
Any questions on any of those items? Shelley, would you come up for a minute, please? How you doing, Shelley?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, listen, I asked a question, of course, you were not here before. Did you get a chance to check with Dick's Sporting Goods about the fields?
We did. I think I sent Tom an email. I was up with an employee. We have talked to them. They found an agreement. They're going to send us a copy of it, and they're going to look to see what they can do about getting those funded. So we're trying to work with Dick's to get, they had never transferred the money to us, and we don't have a copy of the agreement in our offices, and I don't think anybody else can find a copy, so they said they would get us one, so we're going to, once we get that, we'll go from there.
Thank you, Shelley.
Okay.
And I know your heart is heavy that Meredith is leaving.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
But we're also very excited for her. I will be late again tomorrow, so I know
That's fine.
you
I'll
were
wait
gonna.
until you get here.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Shelley, don't leave. While you up, Mr. Dark, I know that you guys were researching the information and legislation with Representative Glover. Y'all found any word on that yet?
I've reached out to him. I think the best thing to do with the money is to invest it into the pool.
Okay.
Because it's an appropriation we'd have to apply for every year. And with there not being a guarantee and he being the sponsor, but I have not had an opportunity to talk to him yet. I've called him a couple times and have not been able to reach him.
Okay.
But
I think that's the plan unless something dramatic
Changes. Okay. Thank you.
I've got your board.
Councilwoman Taylor saw my pool.
I did. I'm copying.
It is
Thank you.
fantastic, and we have told the pool engineer
It's
to be
beautiful.
thinking about David Raines.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. We have no property standards or ABO appeals to consider today. We have no MPC or ZBA appeals to consider tomorrow. Are there any other appeals, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Are there any reports from officers, boards, and committees? Yes.
The public notices the Audit and Finance Committee will have a meeting tomorrow at 4 o'clock, or proceeding right after City Council meeting. It will not be long, about 15 minutes, to discuss the external auditor's recommendation.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, is there a clerk's report?
No, sir.
We have to have a request from the city attorney.
I gotta-
Oh, okay.
I want you all right now. You know, Councilman Jackson in the last council meeting told you all to extend the condolences.
Take a walk.
Come back here. Come back here. Let them see you.
I make a motion that you
Let
come back to
them
your
see
seat.
you.
I want to make a
wanted
motion
to
that you come back to
extend
your seat.
his condolences to us Jaguars. And so he lost the bet. And he looks so lovely today in his blue and gold, represent Jaguar Nation. So shout out to Southern Jaguars on winning the 50th annual Bayou Classic.
Congratulations to the Southern Jaguar.
Councilman Jackson being such a good sport of wearing blue and gold today, and he has to wear blue and gold tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
And to Chairman Green and Tabitha Taylor, congratulations on your victory.
And Tanya,
And Tanya, what you got to
is
say?
being less cooperative. I'm gonna rub my stool. Jackie decided she's not gonna be here right now. But Manushka, thank you for wearing your blue and gold just to make, Alan go over here and look well. You look so lovely today. Give yourself a round of
And our mayor put on his
applause.
Bluetooth, so I'm gonna shout him
Mayor
out.
Arsenault, thank you so much. Yes, right, you with the right school.
We have a request from the city attorney to go into executive session to discuss the following. Madam Clerk, would you read it into the records, please?
Friends of Fairground Field LLC and John W. Lowe versus the City of Shreveport et al., number 639897B, First Judicial District Court, Kettle Parish.
Do we have a motion to go into executive session? Moved by Councilwoman Taylor, second by Councilwoman Bowman. Are there any questions or comments? If not, push the button. My screen is not up, Madam Clerk, but my vote is yes.
Yes.
Oh, wait. Councilwoman Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Brooks?
Yes.
Councilman Telefarrow?
Yes.
Councilman Butcher? Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Bowman?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.